Good day, folks. Welcome to MB Wildman channel. On today's video, we're going to talk about bait. We're going to talk about one of the best baits I make for raccoons. This bait especially is great in coon cuffs. Now, I use the Duke ones. You can use whatever kind you want, of course, but this bait it's a killer bait in all these kind of traps. Works great in dirt hole sets for raccoons, but I use it almost exclusively in these coon cuffs. Listen, if you haven't yet subscribed to the MB Wildman channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on that bell so that you get notified when we upload new content. Wouldn't want you to miss any videos. As always, we're looking for, questions, comments, your experiences, some of the baits you make, whatever it is you got to share with us here on the channel. Go ahead and leave those in the comments down below, and we'll be sure to get back to you as soon as we can on those. So anyway, without further ado, what we're going to do here is I'm going to show you how to mix up my favorite raccoon bait for coon cuffs. All right, what you're going to want to do is get yourself a pretty good sized mixing bowl. It depends on how much of this stuff that you want to make. So it's up to you, of course, what size bowl that you're going to get. I like to get a pretty big one just because when I do a batch of this, I like to do a big enough batch to do me for quite a few traps, quite a few sets. First thing is, and my scissors. First thing is you're going to want to buy a package of black licorice. I like the Twizzlers, and I can tell you why I like the Twizzlers. I like them because of their shape. Right, so as you'll notice, as we move on through this recipe, it'll become important, but the smell of black licorice is great, so especially for raccoons, right? So all you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut this up, and I use about maybe 1/4-inch chunks or so, right? So basically, you just snip a little bit, 1/4 inch, and you're going to want to cut these all up, about 10. I use about 10 pieces from a regular Twizzlers package, and I just cut them up into the bowl. There we go, beauty. Okay, so here we've got a bowl and all just little pieces of black licorice bits in here, okay? Now this is a bait that I use almost exclusively for the dog proofs, for the coon cuff type sets. I do use it in some dirt holes, but not as much as in the coon cuffs. I have a great paste bait that I make when I'm doing my pipe sets. If you haven't seen that pipe set video or the video for the paste bait that I make, go ahead. I'll put a link up here in the corner. You can check those out. They're really great videos on the MB Wildman channel. Lots of people had some good success with those pipe sets and that bait. So, all right, second ingredient in this bait, you got your black licorice in here. Second ingredient is, you guessed it, cat food. Any old cat food will do, cheapest you can find. It just has to be hard cat food, right? So just any type of dollar store or Dollar General, whatever it is you got for cat food, and you're gonna wanna mix probably 2 to 3 times as much cat food as you have licorice. Okay? Once that's done, go ahead and give that a good stir. And there's what you should have right there. So you got dry cat food and you've got black licorice. Okay? Next, as most of you trappers I'm sure do, and if you don't do this yet, you really should start. You should always save the bacon grease. When you make bacon and you're having bacon and eggs or whatever you're having in the morning, you should always pour off your bacon grease and save it for bait. It makes it's one of the best ingredients for baits for all kinds of different creatures. So I always keep quite a bit on hand. We always save ours, and the neighbor saves his for me, and all kinds of things. So next up, what you're going to want to do is just take a regular pot, saucepan, and cut yourself a pretty good slab of used bacon grease and drop it down into your pot. Okay, so into your pan. Probably, I'm going to say you want, for this type of mixture, you're going to want, a 1/2 cup maybe of bacon grease. Okay? Now, we're just going to run in, pop this on the stove, boil it up, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, we're back out here and we've got our pot of just melted and just barely started to boil, okay? Bacon grease, plus all kinds of little bits that were in there from our bacon and eggs that we've had. All you're gonna do now is pour it, try to spread it as evenly as you can. Pour it over top of your mixture. And what you don't want to do is saturate the cat food. So you don't want a lot, so that it makes it soggy. And if you've boiled too much, which I think I have, I've got a little bit too much based on what I'm seeing here, you should just put it on a little bit at a time. So if you think you have enough, then you can stop and stir this up and see what you got. Just got to grab a spoon. Okay, so we got our mixture in here. We're going to stir it around real quick. There we go. So all you want to do, you see how nice and shiny it is now? Okay, so what you've done is you've just coated all of the licorice and all of the cat food in a good layer, a nice layer of yummy, smelly bacon grease. Okay? One of the reasons that I really like to use the black Twizzlers is because they're hollow in the middle. And if you pick a piece of this out, what you'll notice is, or what you should notice is that it's got the ability to soak up the grease both on the outside and the inside. Okay? Now what I do now that this is all covered in bacon grease, and this is lots, I don't think I'll add any more, okay, is I let this cool just naturally out here. And every now and then, you know, if I walk by an hour from now, I'll just stop and I'll stir this up a bit, because what it'll do is it'll help it not to get into one big solid clump as that bacon grease starts to harden. And it'll keep it nice and loose so that you can pour it down into your dog-proof trap, right? Once it's all cool and the bacon grease has had a chance to form on the outside of the licorice and the cat food, then I'll take it and I'll pour it over into a separate container. I usually like to use one of those 1 liter Gatorade bottles, something about that size, with a mouth about that size. You can pour this stuff through a funnel and into that Gatorade bottle, and then when you take the Gatorade bottle out of the line, you go to set this up, you set your trap, you take the Gatorade bottle, pour some down in the top of that, jam it in the ground, you're good to go, right? So it's really good that way. Anyway, I hope this is a recipe that you can use out on your line. I hope it's a trick that'll help you out. It's really inexpensive. You can bait a lot of sets, dirt holes and dog proofs, with just this mixture. The only other thing I'll tell you is that if you kind of mess this up a little bit and you get too much bacon grease in here, so if when you stir this up, if you find that you think, oh man, you know, I still got puddles on the bottom of my bowl or whatever, it's not soaking it all up, it's a simple fix, right? Just grab your cat food bag and add more cat food to the mixture. So pop this open, add a little more cat food, and then stir it again, and that'll soak up and pick up any of your excess grease that you've got in the bottom of your container or whatever, right? You can't really screw this up anyway. So anyway, I hope this helps you out, and until next time, happy hunting from the MB Wildman channel.